I thought my life was perfect. I had the perfect fiancé, the perfect sister, and the perfect future. But that all changed when Jack left me for Emma. In that moment, everything I believed in came crashing down. What happened next? That's when I turned the tables on them. Lily was the type of woman who thought she had it all figured out. She had spent years building a life with Jack, her fiancé. Their relationship was steady, full of laughter, late-night talks, and shared dreams for the future. It was the kind of love everyone envied. They had made plans for a life together, talked about the wedding, the house, and the family they were going to start. Everything seemed right. So perfectly right. And then there was Emma, Lily's sister. They were inseparable. Since childhood, they had shared everything: secrets, dreams, heartbreaks, and successes. Emma had always been Lily's best friend, the one person who knew her inside out. The bond they shared was unbreakable, or so Lily thought. Emma wasn't just her sister. She was her partner in crime, the one person Lily could always count on. Life was simple. Life was good. Jack, Emma, and Lily. They were the perfect trio. But little did Lily know, the two people she trusted most would soon betray her in the worst way. In one cruel moment, everything Lily believed in would be shattered. The person she loved, the sister she trusted, both would turn on her. And that was only the beginning. Before the betrayal, Lily's life revolved around Jack and Emma. It was a balanced, almost idyllic life. She had always been the one to rely on Emma when she needed support, and Emma had always been there, offering encouragement and love. As for Jack, well, he was Lily's future. They shared everything, from their favorite restaurants to their hopes for the future. There was never any doubt in Lily's mind. She was going to marry Jack. Lily had always believed that Emma and Jack shared a bond of friendship that, though deep, was nothing compared to the love she had with Jack. They were close, yes, but it was a comfortable closeness. Emma would always be her sister first, and Jack, her fiancé. The lines were clear. There were never any doubts, no second guesses. The trio often spent weekends together, went on vacations, and celebrated holidays as one. From family dinners to spontaneous get-togethers, their connection seemed perfect, a model of sibling and romantic harmony. Their shared memories were like cement, binding them together. The smiles, the laughter, the trust, they all seemed like pillars of a relationship that could never falter. But then everything changed in the most heart-wrenching way possible. At tea, first Lily tried to dismiss the subtle changes. Jack had been distant lately, working late more than usual, coming home exhausted and not wanting to talk about it. When they did talk, the conversations were strained, awkward even. He would tell her everything was fine, but the empty look in his eyes told a different story. Still, Lily couldn't believe that anything was wrong. She chalked it up to stress. Wedding planning, life in general, it all felt like too much sometimes, right? Maybe Jack just needed some space. And Emma, her sweet, loving sister, had become more reserved too. At first, Lily assumed it was the stress of their busy lives. But Emma's behavior grew more erratic. She avoided eye contact, made excuses when Lily asked her to hang out, and seemed increasingly preoccupied. It didn't make sense. Emma had always been the one person Lily could count on to be there for her. No questions asked. But it wasn't. Until Lily found an unfamiliar perfume on Jack's shirt that the dread began to sink in. The scent wasn't hers, and it wasn't just a passing thing. It lingered, sharp, overwhelming. In that moment, Lily felt a cold shiver run down her spine. Something was wrong, deeply wrong, and it wasn't just Jack. Her sister, the person she trusted most, was hiding something from her too. The sickening realization hit her like a wave. Her world was about to collapse, and she had no idea how deep the betrayal went. Jack had been distant lately. When Lily asked about the wedding plans, he became vague, his answers short and defensive. He started spending more time at work, coming home late, and when they did talk, the conversations felt forced. It wasn't like him. Lily brushed it off at first, thinking it was just stress, but the unease in her chest kept growing. Emma, too, had started acting strangely. She was avoiding Lily's gaze, cutting their talks short, offering excuses not to meet up or spend time together. The closeness they once shared now felt strained. Lily had always known Emma to be honest and open, but now her sister seemed secretive and withdrawn. The little things began to pile up. Missed calls, unexplained absences, the look in Emma's eyes whenever their conversations shifted toward Jack. Lily's gut told her something wasn't right, but she tried to push the thought aside, convincing herself that it was all just coincidence. Deep down, however, a feeling began to settle, one that told her things were changing, and not for the better. Her suspicions continued to grow. The more Lily tried to ignore it, the more glaring the signs became. Jack was even more evasive now. Whenever she asked him directly about their future plans or their wedding details, he would either dodge the question or give her a vague answer that left her with more questions than before. Lily began to watch him more closely, checking his phone and schedule, but nothing seemed to add up. Emma, too, continued to act strangely. Lily tried confronting her, asking if everything was okay, but Emma would just laugh it off, telling her everything was fine. But it didn't feel fine. Lily kept questioning them both, but neither Jack nor Emma would give her a straight answer. Every time she asked, they just shrugged it off or changed the topic. But Lily wasn't naive. She knew something was wrong. The gut feeling she had, those nagging thoughts that had been eating away at her, were no longer easy to ignore. Something was happening, something big, and it was only a matter of time before Lily uncovered the truth. It was one evening when Lily, feeling especially uneasy, grabbed Jack's phone. She was looking for any kind of clue, something that could explain his strange behavior. And then, as her eyes fell on the screen, she froze. It was a message from Emma. "I can't wait to be with you tonight." The words hit her like a punch to the gut. She had to read it again to make sure she wasn't imagining things. But no, there it was, plain as day. Emma and Jack had been secretly seeing each other. Her mind began to spin, her hands shaking, as she stared at the screen. The two people she trusted most in the world had been lying to her for months. The weight of the betrayal crushed her. She couldn't breathe. She felt like she was suffocating. How could they? How could they do this to her? The pain wasn't just emotional, it was visceral, deep in her bones. Everything she had believed in, everything she had worked for, had just been shattered in an instant. Her sister, the one person she had always turned to for support, had betrayed her in the most unimaginable way. And Jack, her fiancé, had been hiding it all along. It was a betrayal beyond anything she could ever have imagined. How could the people she loved most do this to her? Lily felt a rush of emotions, anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. Her mind was racing, trying to process what she had just uncovered. She didn't know what to feel first. Part of her wanted to scream, to throw everything she could find at them, to make them feel the weight of what they had done. Another part of her just wanted to break down, to cry, to wish it all away and pretend that nothing had changed. But there was no going back. The truth was out now. She wasn't sure what to do next. But one thing was clear. Everything had changed. Jack and Emma, the two people she trusted more than anyone else, had turned her world upside down. And the pain of that betrayal felt unbearable. The road ahead was uncertain, but Lily knew one thing. She couldn't just sit back and let them destroy her like this. Lily sat alone in the dimly lit living room, her mind racing as the clock ticked on the wall. She had cried, screamed, and felt the deepest anger she had ever known, but now, in the cold silence of the night, she had come to a decision. She couldn't keep running from the truth, no matter how much it hurt. She couldn't let Jack and Emma's betrayal destroy her. She was done being the victim, done with the endless ache in her heart. It was time for action. Her hands trembled as she gathered her thoughts. This moment would change everything. Confronting both Jack and Emma meant facing the destruction of everything she had ever believed in, the man she loved, the sister she trusted. She had already felt the crushing weight of the truth, but now she had to do something about it. It wasn't enough to suffer in silence anymore. She needed answers. She needed closure. And she was going to get it, no matter what. Lily stood up, her body stiff but determined. The confrontation would be brutal, but she couldn't let them get away with it. They had betrayed her trust, shattered the world she had worked so hard to build. They thought they could get away with this, with their lies and their secrets. But Lily wasn't going to just sit back and let them destroy her life. She would face them, and when she did, they would know exactly what they had done. When Jack finally walked in, his usual smile faded as he saw the intensity in Lily's eyes. She didn't waste a single moment. The tension in the room was suffocating, but Lily stood tall, her voice steady, unshaken by the storm raging inside her. "I know about you and Emma," she said, her words cutting through the air like a knife. There was no hesitation, no fear, just pure, unfiltered truth. Jack froze, his face paling as the color drained from his cheeks. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words caught in his throat. He shifted uncomfortably, trying to form some kind of defense. But Lily wasn't giving him that chance. She had already seen the texts, the messages, the proof. There was no escaping it. "You've been lying to me for months, Jack," Lily continued, her voice sharp as glass. "And you've been lying to Emma, too. This whole time you've been sneaking behind my back, betraying me with the one person I thought I could trust the most," Jack stammered, his words fumbling over themselves. "Lily, I never meant for this to happen," he began. But Lily wasn't listening anymore. She had heard enough excuses, enough lies. "You never meant for this to happen?" she echoed, her voice growing louder, but still controlled. "How long have you been seeing her, Jack? How many times did you lie to my face? You were supposed to be my future. You promised me everything, and you destroyed that for a lie, for a secret affair with my own sister." Jack's face twisted with guilt, but there was no sympathy in Lily's eyes. She had no more tears to shed for him. Her heart had already broken into 1,000 pieces, and there was no going back. Jack's betrayal had left a scar that would never fade. He had no excuses left, no way out of this. "I'm sorry," he muttered, his voice barely a whisper. "I never wanted to hurt you, Lily. I was confused, and I didn't know how to stop." Lily's eyes flashed with fury. "Stop? You think this is about confusion? You think it's just a mistake? You took something from me that I'll never get back. I trusted you. I gave you everything." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. Jack opened his mouth to say something more, but Lily cut him off. "There's nothing left to say, Jack. I'm done with you." Lily turned away from him, her anger giving way to something colder. Emptiness. She had spent too much time crying over him, over what could have been. But now all she felt was the bitter taste of betrayal. She wasn't going to let him break her anymore. When she turned back around, Emma was standing in the doorway, her face pale, her hands trembling. She had been standing there the entire time, listening to the confrontation unfold. Emma's eyes darted between Lily and Jack, a mix of guilt and shame flooding her expression. Lily didn't wait for Emma to speak. She had already heard enough lies today. "You," she said, her voice dripping with disdain, "you knew exactly what you were doing. You were my sister. You were supposed to be my family, and you betrayed me in the worst possible way." Emma's face contorted with remorse, but there was no going back now. "Lily, I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I never meant to hurt you. It just happened." Lily shook her head, disbelief flashing across her face. "No. You knew exactly what you were doing. You knew how much this would hurt me, and you did it anyway. You've destroyed everything. Our bond, our family. It's all gone now because of your selfishness." Emma's eyes filled with tears, but Lily wasn't interested in her apologies anymore. She had no forgiveness left to give. "You can't fix this. You can't take back what you've done," Lily said coldly. "I don't know how you could do this to me, Emma. I trusted you with everything, and now you've just thrown it all away." The guilt was clear in Emma's eyes, but there was nothing left for her to say. The bond they once shared was gone, and Lily knew there was no repairing it. Emma's whispered apology meant nothing now. The damage had been done. Lily didn't need to hear more. She had faced them, confronted the truth head-on, and now she was done with the lies. The betrayal had been laid bare, and there was no turning back for any of them. Lily stared at herself in the mirror, her reflection looking like a shadow of the woman she used to be. Her eyes were red from the tears, but something inside her had shifted. The devastation she felt was still there, lurking beneath the surface, but it no longer controlled her. She was done being a victim. Jack and Emma had torn her apart, shattered everything she had believed in, but that was the past. Now, Lily was taking control. No more letting them walk all over her. No more hiding behind pain. It was time for justice. She would make them pay for what they had done to her, and she would do it on her own terms. The thought of Jack and Emma side by side, betraying her without a second thought, it stung like nothing she had ever experienced. But the more she thought about it, the more her anger transformed into something far more powerful: determination. She was no longer helpless. She had been knocked down, yes, but she had the power to get back up. And when she did, she would show them just how much strength she had. Instead of wallowing in her grief, Lily began to plan. She wouldn't let them get away with this. They had ruined her life, but she wasn't going to let them walk away unscathed. She would use their own secrets against them. She would take control of the narrative. She wasn't just going to let them apologize or offer excuses. No. They had to face the consequences of their actions, and Lily was going to make sure they did. The more she thought about it, the clearer the path became. She would expose them. She would make sure the whole world knew what they had done. They had crossed the line, and Lily wasn't about to let them pretend it never happened. The truth would be their undoing. Lily started to gather every piece of information she could find. She dug into Jack's finances, searching for signs of secret spending or shady transactions. She found receipts, unexplained charges, things that didn't add up. It wasn't just about proving the affair, it was about showing the extent of their betrayal. She also started going through Emma's emails, looking for any communication that could confirm what she already knew. They had been seeing each other in secret for months. She even began checking their social media accounts, combing through posts and messages for any clues. But Lily knew she couldn't do this alone. She reached out to their mutual friends, people who had seen them together when they thought no one was watching. Some of them had already distanced themselves from Jack and Emma, but a few were still willing to talk. Slowly but surely, Lily pieced everything together. It wasn't just the betrayal of a sister or a fiancé. It was a systematic deception that had been going on right under her nose. She had been played, but now it was time for Jack and Emma to face the consequences of their actions. With every piece of evidence, every message, every story from a friend who had witnessed the betrayal, Lily's plan grew stronger. She knew what she had to do next. She wasn't going to let this happen in the shadows. She wasn't going to let Jack and Emma hide behind their lies anymore. She would confront them once again, but this time, she would do it in a way they wouldn't expect. She would lay everything bare, in front of everyone who had once supported them, in front of the people who had trusted them. The truth would be undeniable, and Jack and Emma would have nowhere to hide. Lily set the trap. She arranged a family gathering, something that seemed innocent on the surface, but would be the moment she revealed everything. She invited Jack and Emma to meet her at a familiar spot, her parents' house, a place where memories were made, a place where they had all once laughed and shared their lives. But this time, the atmosphere would be different. The tension would be palpable, and the truth would hang heavy in the air. When they arrived, everything was ready. Lily had everything she needed to expose them. Bank records, text messages, photos, and the witness statements from their friends who had seen them together in secret. It was all there, the full extent of their betrayal, and there was no way they could deny it. Lily was calm, collected, but underneath, her heart was racing. This was it, the moment when everything would change. As Jack and Emma walked into the Yorite room, the familiar warmth of the house seemed to dissipate. The smiles that once came so easily now felt forced, awkward. They had no idea what was coming. Lily didn't waste a moment. She stood up, her voice steady and clear. "I know what you've been doing," she said, looking directly at both of them. They froze, their faces paling as the weight of her words hit them. Jack tried to speak, but Lily held up a hand. "I've seen everything. The messages, the lies, the secrets. And now I'm going to make sure everyone else sees it too." One by one, Lily revealed the evidence. She showed them the bank records, the messages between Jack and Emma, the photos of them together. It wasn't just about an affair. It was about the betrayal of trust, the lies they had told her for months. She watched as Jack's face twisted with guilt, as Emma's eyes filled with regret. But Lily wasn't done yet. This wasn't about making them feel bad. This was about making them face the consequences of their actions. By the time Lily finished, Jack and Emma were speechless. The room was thick with silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Jack tried to stammer out an apology, but Lily wasn't listening. She had already made her point. The truth was out, and Jack and Emma had nowhere left to hide. This was her moment, her redemption. The tables had turned, and Lily had taken control. Now it was time for them to feel the weight of their betrayal. Just as she had, the tension in the room was palpable, as if the very air had been thickened by the weight of the truth Lily was about to reveal. She had planned every moment of this, and now the time had come to expose Jack and Emma for the betrayal they had so carefully hidden. With a calm but unwavering voice, Lily began to lay everything out. Every text message, every email, every photo that painted the picture of their deceit. She watched as the color drained from Jack's face, his usual confident demeanor vanishing in an instant. His hands trembled slightly as he stood there, unable to meet anyone's gaze. He had no words to defend himself. Emma, too, stood frozen, her eyes wide, her breath shallow. Her usual confidence had vanished, replaced by a deep regret that she knew would never undo the damage she had caused. She reached out to Jack, perhaps for comfort, but it was too late. The room went silent, every eye fixed on the unfolding drama. As Lily spoke, the faces around her went from confusion to shock to disbelief. The truth spread like wildfire, and the looks of betrayal and judgment on the faces of their friends and family told the story that neither Jack nor Emma could escape. It was no longer a private affair between the three of them. Now it was public, and there was no going back. Jack's face turned red with embarrassment, his shoulders slumping in defeat. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but there was no sympathy left in Lily. The trust they had stolen from her was gone forever, and it couldn't be repaired with a few tears or half-hearted apologies. For Jack and Emma, the world they had so carefully constructed on lies crumbled in front of them. They had been so sure they could get away with it, but the truth had come crashing down, and the fallout was swift and unforgiving. As the last of Lily's words hung in the air, the silence was broken by the murmurs of their friends and family, all of them now questioning everything they had known about the once perfect couple. Jack lost clients. The business deals that had once seemed promising slipped through his fingers as his reputation spiraled. His colleagues began to distance themselves, unwilling to be associated with someone who had shown such a lack of integrity. Friends who had once called him close began turning their backs, unwilling to look past the betrayal. Emma, too, was pushed away by the very people she thought she could count on. Her friends, who had once been her confidants, now avoided her calls. The warmth of family gatherings had vanished, replaced by awkward silence and whispered conversations. Emma had lost not only her sister's trust, but her place in the circle of people she once considered her support system. The lies they had built their relationship on had now become their undoing. They were left with nothing. No friends, no business, no respect. They had destroyed the bonds that held them together, and in the end, it wasn't Lily who had to suffer anymore. It was them. They had lost everything. For Lily, the moment of exposure marked the turning point. She had taken control of her life, and now the weight of her suffering was lifting. The revenge she had carefully planned, the justice she had sought, had been delivered. But more than that, Lily had reclaimed her power. She was no longer the broken woman she had been before. She had been knocked down, yes, but now she stood taller, stronger, and more determined than ever. The pain of betrayal was still there, lingering in the back of her mind, but it no longer defined her. She had learned something powerful from the experience. Her worth wasn't tied to Jack or Emma or anyone else. She had found strength in the darkest moments of her life, and now she was ready to move forward. This was her life, her journey, and she would walk it on her own terms. The road ahead was still uncertain, but Lily knew one thing for sure. She would never again let anyone take away her power. She had closed this chapter, and now she was ready for whatever came next. Truth had set her free.